What is up, gamers? We are here with a very special video. This is gonna be a movie, basically, of my CLTU season that just wrapped up recently. I've been watching a ton of Showdown content recently, and I really enjoy the long form videos where someone just uploads their entire season at once. And I figured I'd try it out because I just finished up a Showdown League, and I posted the first battle. I was going to post every video as the battles came out, but I wasn't able to record a couple of them live, so I was like, you know what? We'll just throw it all into a movie at the end of the season, and I really wanted to try it out. So that's what we're going to be doing today. This is probably going to be quite a long video because it's a full season, and I don't know how long I'm going to talk about each battle. I don't really remember all of them super well. I didn't even go back and watch any of them before recording this. So I'm just going to give you, the team, the matchup, and then we'll just hop into the battles and see how it goes. This is going to just be kind of me testing out, seeing how it goes. But our week one, this battle is up on our channel, so you may have seen it already, but if not, we were going up against the Twixham Passimian, and actually I'll talk about my team a little bit. This is a really fun team to draft. I think it was a really, really bad draft because if you don't know, CLTU stands for Crazy Low Tier Ubers League, and that means that everyone has Ubers because there's a bunch of Ubers that were allowed in this league. None of the super broken ones like Eveltal or anything like that, but stuff like Pheromosa or Genesector, that type of stuff. Unfortunately, I think it was like the second or third to last pick in the league. So by the time it got to me, there were no Ubers left, basically. There were a couple of options. I think there was like Darkrai, Pheromosa, but that was about it. And so I was like, you know what? We'll just rock out with the Urshifu Single Strike because I love using it and I think it's really, really good. And I was looking at the Ubers that were, being taken and that were allowed. And I thought Urshifu matched up really well with it. And after that, I went with Cinderace because I thought it'd just be really funny to have Cinderace and Urshifu together because they're kind of like the twins, the brokenness outside of Ubers. And they're basically the same Pokemon in my eyes. Like, they do very similar things. Cinderace is a little bit better for, like, I think it's really nice to have Hazard Control on the Cinderace with the Court Change. But I also think that it's really nice to have Urshifu who's not weak to rocks like Cinderace is. But, so my team, I ended up very quickly just devolving in a pretty fun way. I decided really early that I wanted every single one of my Pokemon to have momentum. Mostly U-turn, but if you look at the team that I drafted here, every single one of my Pokemon has a pivot move of some sort. Now, like, Cloyster has Teleport, that's probably the one that, it's never actually going to use its momentum move, but everything else here gets Teleport, U-turn, or Volt Switch, which I just thought, or Baton Pass in the case of Latios. That was the one that we had to go with a Baton Passer instead of different momentum move. But every single one of my Pokemon has momentum. My team is very physically offensive, which is just kind of how it works out when you draft Urshifu, Cinderace, and Mega Beedrill. This was not a good team at all, but it was really, really fun to mess around with. I believe you can see this is my week one matchup right here against the Twickenham Passimian. And I remember originally building a team that had 6 Pokemon that all had U-turn on it in my first build of the team. Just thought it would be really fun. And I think it'd be just a really interesting concept. I ended up taking it off of one of my Pokemon, but 5 of my Pokemon in week 1 had U-turn. But if you look at this matchup, I remember thinking that Pheromosa was a huge issue for my team because my team was really reliant on having its speed with things like Mega Beedrill and Cinderace, and Pheromosa outspeeds everything. I also didn't have a good switch into the combination of Bug and Fighting because my 2 dedicated walls and Blissey and Slowbro are both weak to one of its stabs. And it's a Pokemon that can run, close combat and Bug Buzz if it wants to, and just obliterate both of my walls. And so, week 1, I was already like, okay, this is going to be tough. I'm not feeling this matchup. I was pretty okay with everything else on the team. Mega Latios is obviously scary, but I think Latios is a bit better just because of its bulk and its setup capabilities. I was a little bit worried about webs on the Araquanid, but it was really just the Pheromosa that I was terrified of. I also was kind of worried of Flame Body Heatran, I remember, because when my team is spamming U-turn, Flame Body Heatran is actually a huge problem because it can burn everything on my team. So, with that being said, let's hop over to the actual battle, and as you'll see, they brought pretty much the mons that I had expected. Alolan Persian was really interesting because I thought my team kind of scares off the dark types between Urshifu, Mega Beedrill, and I guess Comfey. Comfey isn't, going to be a high priority on most teams, but I thought Urshifu, Mega Beedrill would scare it off. And I remember this whole game, my whole plan was just, if I can remove the Pheromosa, I think I have a chance. But if not, then we're in a lot of trouble. Tyrantrum also surprised me, just because I have so much priority that like Dragoness didn't seem very likely. Just looking at the mons that I did end up bringing, I think Beedrill's the only one that doesn't, carry priority quite often. But yeah, we'll just start off the battle. He did lead off with the Zapdos, and I ended up realizing pretty quickly that Zapdos was also an issue, because this was another Pokemon that had an ability that punishes U-turn. So between Heatran and Zapdos, my mons were at a huge risk of being statused in some way, whether it was paralysis or flame body. So not great. But here I'm just like, you know what? We can U-turn out, get something in. We might take a para, but it's honestly pretty good damage just because of the adaptability. Mega Beedrill is quite strong, and so I believe I stay in and click U-turn as he reveals his Choice Scarf. So, turn 1 of our first low-tier Uber battle, and we've already lost our Mega. I've been pretty outspoken that I don't like battling with Megas, but I was super excited this season because I was like, yo, I've got Mega Beedrill. This looks like a lot of fun. And we're going to try a Mega that I think I can actually really have some fun with. And Surprise Scarf Zapdos just knocks us out immediately. And not a great way to start out our season. So here I'm like, oh shoot, I need to do something about this. I don't have a Hurricane switch in. As Flygon comes in and takes 60%. And this is where I'm like, ooh, this is just might be over now already. Like, we don't have a Hurricane switch in. Everything we have is taking 50% plus. And we just need him to start missing moves. So I go into Comfey, and Comfey isn't doing anything with Heatran around. The plan with Comfey was always to just U-turn out. But with this offensive Zapdos, I was like, I can't let this thing just keep clicking Hurricane. I have to go for a priority move. And so I went for Draining Kiss, now Heatran's in. And Heatran was also very scary for my team, because like I don't have defensive switches. I wasn't able to bring either of my defensive mons in Slowbro or Blissey this week, because of the Pheromosa, and so I don't have a good switch into Heatran either. Not that I would have anyways, because like Slowbro's solid, but Heatran's still a big problem for me. I think I go into Flygon here just because it's my only thing that can take fire moves at all on my team right now. Yeah. As we U-turn out, we could have figured out if it was Flame Body there versus Flash Fire for the Cinderace. As he does go for the Magma Storm, unfortunately it doesn't KO our Flygon, and I believe we did have Roost this week. I'm not certain. Oh yeah, we showed it when it went for the Hurricane, I believe. No, we didn't. But yeah, we do have the Roost on the Flygon, so at least for now, we can still switch into the Zapdos and the Flygon once. We still have to bank on him missing moves. And I just have to go hard Stizzle on this Mega Latios, which could be carrying the Mystical Fire, but at this point I'm already really far behind, and I don't really have a whole lot of options, as it looks like he doesn't have it, which is really nice. I went and scouted for it anyways, and we end up with Cinderace versus Heatran, which actually isn't bad because I can try and scare him with a high jump kick, but he stays in. And that's not ideal either because I was counting on him being scared out. And so we have to go back into Flygon. We can Roost up here again, but we're still in a not great position because it gives him more momentum, as he can just switch out as I am forced to heal up, basically. He can go into something like a Latios, Pheromos if he really wanted to, and I actually go for a substitute, which it must have been me predicting him to switch out. Makes a lot of sense. And we actually catch him on the Toxic, so that actually worked out really, really well, as our Roost Toxic substitute Flygon is actually going to be able to put in quite a bit of work here. The one thing that really scares me for this is the fact that Pheromosa can kind of just triple axle me if it wants to, and I don't really want to deal with that. But for now, we're actually in a pretty good spot. The problem is we can only hit this Latios with Toxic. And so we are back up to full health. We are going to get a Toxic off on the Latios, which is nice, as I went for the Earthquake. I think I was predicting him to double out there, but I don't think that was a good play regardless. But yeah, I don't know why I Earthquaked there. I guess I was hard predicting the Heatran, but I don't think that was a good play. Maybe I was expecting Pheromosa to come in and try and, triple axle me, but you're not following this music because it's it's not. It's quite loud for me. But yeah, I don't like the Earthquake there. I think Toxic was just absolutely my play every time. And yeah, but we are still at full health. We still do have the Caesar that can switch in if he's not Mystical Fire. Let's actually go hard Cinderace here, trying to predicting him to go for the Mystical Fire this time. Because I figured last time, he was probably just scared out by the Caesar or the possibility of, Scarf or just a Banded Bullet Punch, something like that. But he does just go straight for the Dragon Pulse again, trying to get rid of this Flygon that's being an issue. But, I mean, Cinderace is in here. We do outspeed him, and we do get to fire off a big U-turn. And that does a big chunk of damage. He might have Roost, but this is a Latios, so it's probably more offensive is what I'm thinking. But he does just Roost it off, which is unfortunate. But we do see that he switches out again. So at this point, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have Mystical Fire. As I just go for the U-turn, we do see that it is Flame Body, so that makes Pyro Ball a little bit more spammable. But for now, we're just going to go into Flygon, and I think I Earthquake this time, because last time he stayed in and tried to Toxic me. But we can see here. Yeah, I do end up going for the Earthquake. Now, the nice thing is, since this is a Scarf Zapdos, I don't expect it to have Roost, so any damage on it should be permanent. Which means that when Flygon's at full, I can kind of just Roost stall it out, as that's what I went for there. But he makes a really nice prediction, goes into the Latios on it, and gets to fire off another Dragon Pulse. But at this point, I do go Comfy, because he's shown that he really does just like to spam the Dragon Pulse on me. And as we see these Calm Mind, that kind of explains to me that there's a reason for that, and it's because he's Calm Mind as well. So he probably only has one coverage move. I was Scarf Urshifu, and so I was willing to just go and Wicked Blow that. But he has the Fur Coat Alolan Persian, which makes a lot of sense. That's why he brought it now, because it means I have to lock into close combat if I'm wanting to do any damage to it. We do get Trick Twist Scarf from the Alolan Persian, and that works out not ideal for us because we're very slow anyways. But since we've just been clicking U-turn this entire time anyways, it doesn't really matter. The thing is, he gets the Rocky Helmet for us, and we actually get chipped from our own Rocky Helmet, which is actually really unfortunate. Because also, like, Draining Kiss and the fact that we have U-turn on everything except for our Flygon, it is going to hurt us that he has that Rocky Helmet now. But we do get it chipped for our Urshifu a little bit more, which is really nice. And every time this Heat Train comes in on a U-turn, we do get Flygon it, which is really nice. Unfortunately, he stays in and goes for the taunt. So we made the wrong prediction once again. If we had clicked Earthquake there, this Heatran would be much lower. And he gets to freely switch into one of his Pokemon that is immune to Earthquake. So that was a pretty safe prediction on our part, because he knew that I could only click Earthquake in that situation, so he was going into his Latios or Zapdos. And so it was pretty safe for me to just go into Cinderace and threaten with a Sucker Punch on the Zapdos or like a U-turn on the Latios. He makes a good play and goes into the Persian to get some Rocky Helmet chip. He does still live that hit as well. And I don't really have a whole lot to top speed. I do have Comfy though, which I'm probably just going to click U-turn here if I know myself. As I do. He just stays in and goes for the Play Rough just to get a little bit of extra chip on us, as we do pick up the KO on the Persian, but we take a lot of damage in return on our Comfy. So, not ideal, but it is nice to get that out of the way because now Wicked Blow is way more spammable for our Urshifu. Unfortunately, he goes for Pheromosa, but he doesn't know we're not Scarfed yet, so he is forced out. However, he does see there that he is faster than us because he switched out before our Cinderace. And now he has Tyrantrum in on what I presume is a stack, just a Scout, but now we have a Burn Scizor in front of it, so it can kind of set up on us because we are burned. We're not going to be doing that much damage to it. As we see, a Bullet Punch does 23%. As he does go for the Rock Polish, fortunately he wasn't Weakness Policy, because if he were, then he'd be, +2/+2 Tyrantrum. But we are able to get off a nice 50% with this Burn Scizor, so honestly, that was a pretty solid trade as we see it as Life Orb, and Comfy can come in and just click Draining Kiss. It should do 41%. I'm not too worried about it in that situation, but we are forced to click Draining Kiss, which means he gets to go into Heatran and possibly get another Flame Body off on us. We don't get burned there, but he does get Heatran in for free, as he can fire off something into our Flygon. But I expect him to predict the Flygon and go for the Toxic, and I really don't want my Flygon Toxic because then I can't substitute Roost on everything, and so I make the aggressive play on the and it works out even better because he misses the Toxic. I wasn't worried about my Urshifu getting Toxic, that's kind of what I expected, but I figured if Urshifu comes in, then I basically get a claim to kill with Wicked Blow, or Close Combat, depending on if I think he's going to stay in or not. He does switch out and sack off the Tyrantrum, which makes a lot of sense, as I just get a free Wicked Blow. So at this point, it's still tied up 4-4, but the Pheromosa is a huge problem for us. as I'm forced to sack off my Cinderace here, and he's going to get his Beast Boost. He does show up close combat though, so his defenses are lowered, which is nice for our Comfy because I think that guarantees we KO if it's not Stash, as that's what we're going to go into. And now we have to see, is he going to go into Heatran or is he stashed? He goes into Zapdos here, which also makes a lot of sense because if you can paralyze this Comfy, that's probably even better than a Burn. But we do get good health that's unrecoverable on this thing as he doubles out, which I think is a really interesting play, especially since he went into Heatran, because I think Flygon made a lot of sense there, but I think I was scared of getting 2-hit KO'd by the Hurricane, so I did make the play. And he makes a really, really good play predicting me to go for the Draining Kiss again and go straight to Heatran, and I think that was a really, really good play by him. And somehow our Comfy still hasn't gotten burned here after going for multiple Draining Kisses and U-turns into this Heatran. As I do just hard out, I think that was because I was worried about getting burned at that point, and again he goes for the Toxic. This is why I'm not switching at Flygon. I'm really worried about Flygon getting Toxic. As here we go for the Wicked Blow, and it doesn't do nearly enough, and that's really unfortunate. He made a really good prediction on that, and now we're down to 2% with our Urshifu, and we're trapped in here. Now, I had been playing the entire game as if I were Scarfed, and I believe I was Protective Pads on this Urshifu actually. And so we're able to pick off this Heatran that's confident he's going to live another hit with the Wicked Blow, because I remember at this point in the battle, I was like, alright, he definitely thinks I'm Scarfed. He's not going to switch in anything else here. I think close combat is an easy way to pick off this Heatran, and if we can get rid of Heatran, then Comfy actually looks really, really good in this endgame. And so we are able to bluff the Scarf, we're able to knock out the Heatran, and that's huge, because now our Comfy doesn't have anything that wants to take Draining Kisses from it. We do lose our Urshifu, which is unfortunate because it would be able to Sucker Punch or Wicked Blow, whatever comes in. We bluffed it earlier when we came in on the Latios, I believe is what it was. As we go into Flygon, and that was not ideal there, but we do live the close combat. We missed a Toxic, which I was really just going for Toxic to try and break a Stash. I didn't want to click Earthquake because both of his mons were off the ground besides this thing, so if he had gone for, say, a U-turn, then, you know, at least we can Toxic the Latios if it comes in. But now we're down to just Comfy versus the world, and we know this thing has Calm Mind, so if we're not doing enough damage with the Draining Kiss, we're not going to be able to knock it out, as he does Calm Mind up, and now he should be able to live another Draining Kiss and should be able to roost off, and we really need a crit right now. He is playing with crits, but I think this is definitely his best option because he is going to be able to Calm Mind up and roost up, and we're not going to be able to do anything about it. And we'll speed this up, and yeah, Psyshock does enough, and he's going to be able to win this game 3-0. So we lose our first game 3-0. I'm pretty happy with the game overall. I think the Flygon that we brought was really, really cool, and I think it worked really well. But unfortunately, we weren't able to deal with the Calm Mind Latios. I think the Scarf Zapdos was huge for him in this matchup, because if we had the Beedrill around for this thing, and it had like Drill Run for the Heatran, I think Beedrill would have helped a lot. And so I think the Scarf Zapdos was a really, really good bring on his part. And we start off the season 0-1, which is never a fun way to start a season. I was pretty happy with that game still. I think we played pretty well for the most part. And we just got to move on to the next game. And so game 2 of the season, we're going against the commissioner of the league, Jackal, and his West Virginia Woobats. And this was a very, very scary team as well. You'll see that every team in this league is very scary. Especially because I think our team was one of the worst teams in the league just because we were still relying on physical U-turn offense. But his main threats on this team, for my team at least, were Dialga and, for the second week in a row, a bug fighting type. This time, Mega Heracross. And if you remember from Pheromosa that we just battled, our two walls, Blissey and Slowbro, do not deal with bug fighting types at all. And so once again, we're going to have to figure out a way around the bug fighting on their team, but this team also has Dialga, Zeraora, Greninja, Gliscor, and Glowking. So this team is just full of bulky offense mixed with super offensive mons. And I remember this one, I was like, okay, Steel types are annoying for my Mega Beedrill and my Comfy, so if we can remove the Dialga, then a lot of our offense, or then our Beedrill can really go in. I think Beedrill looked really solid in this game. Gliscor was annoying, but I had like an Ice Punch Urshifu, and I think Urshifu was my main win con in this game because he doesn't have things to switch into Urshifu. Wicked Blow does huge damage, even to his two fairies. They don't take it very well. And Greninja doesn't take it at all either. So I think if I remember correctly, Urshifu was my win condition in this game. I was like, all right, I think Urshifu is really, really scary for this team. And as you see, he doesn't really bring anything that wants to take hits from Urshifu. I think we were Scarf Urshifu again, but we may have abandoned. I don't really remember. But yeah, I remember in this game I was like, okay, I expect like a Greninja lead. I think that makes a lot of sense because then he can U-turn, he can spike up, he can really do whatever he wants. And so I know I led Beedrill because I was like, we can U-turn out on it, or we can just hard switch out, see if he has the its signature move, the Water Shuriken, and we can just pivot out. I wasn't too worried about Greninja because we do have the Blissey, and I was like, even if it's like low kick, that's not the worst case scenario for us. And so I led with Mega Beedrill once again. As he leads there, oh no, I'm Urshifu. I was a Scarf Urshifu. I remember. We were Scarf Urshifu because I was like, this thing can just clean up the game in the end game. But they busted out the Scarf Zero Aura. And second week in a row, we lose a Pokemon turn 1 to a surprise Scarf Electric type. And this was brutal because Urshifu was absolutely my best Pokemon in this matchup. He didn't really have a Wicked Blow switch in because Sylveon barely takes 2 Scarf Wicked Blows, and nothing else on this team was able to switch in safely. Close combat was also super scary for him once the Gliscor and the Sylveon were dealt with. And I think I clicked U-turn on this turn because I don't know if Wicked Blow actually killed a Zero Aura, but it didn't matter because he was Scarf Play Rough Zero Aura. And so once again, we lose a Pokemon on the very first turn. So now I can go into Mega Beedrill. I can just click Knock Off, U-turn, whatever I feel like. I click Knock Off because I don't want this thing getting his Toxic Orb activated. And that's really nice for us because it does mean he doesn't have that passive recovery. I go into Cloyster here. I believe I was the Shell Smash variant just because I was like, you know, I can set up pretty freely on the Gliscor, and nothing on his team really wants to be taking the combination of Icicle Spear. And I believe I actually brought Pin Missile to this one for the Glow King, and like, just because I think it's a fun move. But yeah, unfortunately he U-turns out, and he does have the Silvally Water, which does wall our Cloyster quite well. And he clicks the U-turn, so he's kind of got us in the Vortex, which is where we want to have other teams. This is not great. Not at all where we want to be right now. As he busts out the Iron Defense Dialga, and this is where I'm like, oh shoot. This thing is just going to body press my entire team down. The only thing on my team that isn't physical right now is the Latios, and we can only hit that thing neutrally. I might have had like Aura Sphere on it for this, but it's a Dialga. It's taking hits really well. And I remember I was more worried about a special Dialga, which is why I didn't bring Slowbro. Because I was like, well, he has Greninja, he has Zero Aura. Like, I can't be worried about this. Because I did consider like a bulk up set. I thought that was more likely. I didn't consider Iron Defense, but it was a really, really good bring. And against the team that I have right here, it's very, very scary. I don't really have anything. And also, I missed my Thunder Wave, which is unfortunate. I don't think it was a very big deal, because at that point, it was really just there for the full pair of chances, because like everything that outspeeds it already outspeeds it. I think Cloyster is the only Pokemon that would have been different. And like, it's a Cloyster. It's not doing much to a +2 defense Dialga. And we do get the Thunder Wave off here, because we do survive the body press. We would have been able to get a extra Seismic Toss off, but I don't think it was too important, as he knocks out our Blissey, and we're forced into Latios, and he's the Choppleberry, and he absolutely eats up that Aura Sphere and knocks us out with a Draco. This battle's going absolutely horribly. He does switch out here, fearing the Earth Power, as we're just Earthquake, but at this point, I don't think we have much of a chance at all. We really just need Cloyster to try and Shell Smash and win, but as long as he keeps U-turning with his Gliscor, there's nothing we can do. We do know that he's Scarf, and so at that point I was like, you know what, he's not going for an electric move, because he knows I know he's Scarfed. And so I don't think there's any way he ever goes for an electric move. I'm going to Shell Smash here on like a play rough, predicting the Flygon to come in, as he just Volt Switches and knocks out our Gleister. So this game is going absolutely horrendously. I can't beat a Gliscor at this point. It can just roost up on us or Earthquake everything. And my Flygon didn't have anything that could touch it either. As he just spams the Earthquake, we're left with just this Flygon that's Earthquake, U-turn, dual Wing Beat, and we don't even knock out the Gliscor. He U-turns out, and Player Up Zero Aura is just going to finish us off. So, week 2, we get 6-0, absolute dumpstered. It's a mess. And I promise you the entire season isn't like this. We do win a couple games. But yeah, this was an absolutely brutal game. Congratulations to Jackal, the commissioner. He absolutely smoked me, and he didn't even bring the bug fighting type that I was so worried about in prep. So good game to him, and we'll look at game 3. There's not much you can do after a game like that except move on and hope it doesn't happen again. So this is our week 3 matchup against the Malicious Molten Miniors, and their Uber was Kieran Black, which was very scary as well. And once again, they had another Pokemon. Their fighting type could also just smoke Slowbro, because Mega Gallade is, one of the scariest Megas in Draft, and it carries Leaf Blade a lot of the time, so it can just Swords Dance, smack the Slowbro, and it's a big old problem. However, this game, I have the speed on my side quite a bit, because Cinderace and Mega B outspeed everything on his team, and so I think that that's going to be really important for me. He does have the Milotic, so Cinderace isn't as good in this matchup, but we can still pivot around, get our other threats in, and I do like this matchup quite a bit more here as we get to the actual battle. And I did end up bringing Rotom to this game because I remember I didn't have anything for this Mega Gallade, and I was like, you know what? I think it was Scarf Rotom is what it was. And I was like, you know what? I don't think he's gonna have Shadow Sneak. I think an offensive Rotom does like 90% to a Mega Gallade. And I was like, I really need something for this because Mega Gallade can kind of just destroy my team if it's going faster than me somehow. And so let's hop into this game, because it was a lot of fun. He leads the Carbink, which I wasn't expecting Carbink to come at all, but I did have Taunt on the Lele, so it can't set up screens, and so I was very, very happy that was the case. And I am able to U-turn out on this Aegislash, and I ended up bringing in my Caesar. I didn't want to bring in Urshifu because I expected a Colbur Berry on that Aegislash, and this gives me an opportunity to get a free knockoff on whatever I want. Aegislash doesn't really do a whole lot to my Caesar anyways, as I was bulky, and we can try and knock off a Flame Orb, which is exactly what we do, and that's really, really helpful. The problem is, I can't really kill a Milotic. Rotom's my only way of killing it, so I have to go into this, try and taunt it, and just slowly whittle it down, which isn't great, because Skull's doing quite a bit of damage to our Comfy still. And it's kind of just us trying to scare it out repeatedly until we can get in a position to try and knock it out. He goes Mega Gallade, and I go Mega Beedrill, because Mega Beedrill just OHKOs a Mega Gallade, but he's not scared of us, and he just stays in. OHKOs our Mega Beedrill as we go for the spikes, predicting him to switch out, because I knew that a Mega Gallade was never living a Poison Jab. So, there's no way he stays in it. We can get our Toxic Spikes up. Those are going to be huge because Aegislash is the only Pokemon that's immune to it, and he doesn't have any removal this week. It will give Milotic the Marvel Scale, but I'd much rather it's poisoned than burned, so it's okay. And Beedrill just gets absolutely obliterated by a Fire Punch, and that was really unfortunate because this thing was faster than everything on his team. And between knockoff, U-turn, and poison jab, it does a ton of damage to his team. And it's one of our best ways of revenge killing this Gallade that we don't have around anymore. So losing this drill is really bad. But we got Toxic Spikes up, and it means that we can, poison everything on his team. I do go into my Scarf Rotom, I click Shadow Ball, which I believe after him, if he ever switched out and came back in on Toxic Spikes, that would kill him after the Shadow Ball plus Poison Chip, eventually. But he brings in the Carbink, which means we have to go out into our Caesar, and it allows him to get up a screen. We do scare it out with a Bullet Punch, which is nice, and I think I do just go for it here because I don't want him getting a Reflect Up. We do get the Milotic Poison, which is really nice as well, and he reveals to be faster than us. I was a very slow Caesar, and I get the slow momentum, and I can just go into Comfy. Because this Milotic can't really do anything to our Comfy, and we can just get a pretty free Leech Seed off if we want to. We can taunt it if we want to. It's really just whatever we want to do. He goes into the Mega Gallade, which isn't ideal for us because we do end up U-turning. And I kind of wanted Comfy in on this thing because we do have the priority Draining Kiss, we do a ton, but the light screen is up. And I think I forgot about that when I went into this thing as well, because now our Shadow Ball isn't going to be doing a ton of damage to this Gallade because the light screen is up. But we do still outspeed, and between Toxic damage and this Shadow Ball, we do put it quite low. And so we lose our Rotom, which is our other check to this Gallade, but he also only lives one more turn. And we just go in and Bullet Punch. So, we've dealt with the Gallade pretty well at this point, and I'm not super worried about it. Plus, we still have this Comfy to deal with the Milotic. And Urshifu still looks really, really scary in this matchup because Close Combat Wicked Blow is really nice as soon as we can get rid of the potential Colbur Berry on the Aegislash. We end up getting the taunt play correct here again, and we really don't want our Comfy getting toxic, because then it no longer walls as melodic. But we get the taunt off, he's at 50% health, and he's forced to switch out without recovering. We do go for the Draining Kick, which is unfortunate here as he brings in the Aegislash, but we are faster, so we can just U-turn out and go into Caesar. Again, I'm not super scared of this thing, but he Swords Dances, and so I have to knock off the Culver Berry, and this means that our Urshifu will just revenge kill it pretty easily, because he can't Shadow Sneak our Urshifu for that much damage, but it does mean we lose our Caesar. And so now we're down 3-6. But honestly, I still like my position because all of his Pokemon are quite chipped at this point. We still have the Toxic Spikes up, and at this point, Wicked Blow should just claim a KO because Carbink is low, Gallade can't switch in safely, Milotic can't switch in safely, this thing dies to a Wicked Blow. So Wicked Blow should just claim a KO, except for the Crocodile. I was worried about like a Anger Point Scarf Crocodile, if I'm being honest, but I was like, you know what, we'll have to just go into Hard Latios on the Earthquake, if that's the case. But we're not Choice Urshifu. I think I was Black Glasses this week, and we do just U-turn out, as he shows that he's, as he goes for the Reflect. And that shows that he's not very fast. I go into Comfy, as he explodes on my Comfy, which is a really good play on his part. He wasn't too worried about getting a light screen up, he was happy to get the Reflect up, and to have his Kyurem Black in. Fortunately, or unfortunately for us, Drainicus only does about 29%, and he starts Dragon Dancing. But between Toxic, between Draining Kiss, we're going to chip this thing down a ton, and he should only be able to kill our Comfy, but he only gets 3 hits on the Icicle Spear, and we're actually going to be able to 1v1 this Kyurem Black, which is fantastic, because at that point, the Kyurem was just going to probably sweep our team. He probably would have died to Toxic eventually, but if I didn't have Sucker Punch on Urshifu, then it had the potential to just sweep our team. But Comfy's able to live, and he still doesn't go into Aegislash, which is confusing to me at this point, because I'm like, well, I can just Draining Kiss, get a lot of my health back, and like, I'm absolutely willing to make this trade because Aegislash is the Pokemon that, you know, walls this. So I'm more than happy to make this trade of Crocodile for Comfy. So Comfy put in the most work there, getting the kill on the Kyurem, 1v1 in the Kyurem Black and the Crocodile, and eating up an explosion from the Carbink. So I was really, really happy with it in this match. And Comfy put in a ton of work. And at this point, Urshifu can just come in. We do have the Sucker Punch, and we go for it here, knock out the Mega Gallade, and we're going to knock out Aegislash as well. And pick up our first win of the season, which is actually just massive. Yeah, we pick it up there. And we actually win our first game of the season, which is huge. We actually win a game. Really happy about that. Urshifu put in a ton of work. Comfy put in a ton of work. Everyone else was kind of just there. Mega Beedrill died immediately. But at least we didn't lose a Pokemon turn 1 like every other game. So hopefully this is the turning point of the season, and we can turn it around. The next week, we've got the Boston Sceptiles, and this team is incredibly scary. It's one of my better matchups, I think, but the team just in general is terrifying. This is the one team that really got like 2 real Ubers Pokemon with Genesect and Darkrai, and then along with that, they also got Mega Diancie, Garchomp, and Mew. So this team is stupid scary offensively, and then it's got P2 and Skarmory as its defensive backbone. It's pretty similar to me in that it's only got a couple of defensive mons and a ton of offensive mons. But fortunately, my team matches up pretty well against this, I think. Beedrill outspeeds everything. Cinderace is really, really good in this matchup. And Urshifu is also really scary for them to deal with. So I think between Urshifu and Cinderace, they don't have a ton of switch-ins for either of those Pokemon. And the fact that Mega Diancie is slower than the Cinderace is also really, really nice. Darkrai is the only thing that outspeeds my Cinderace. I believe one of Cinderace or Urshifu is Scarfed. I can't remember which one it is. But I know I was really considering running dual Scarf, and they might be both Scarfed. But I thought they were really, really important in this matchup. I also remember I have a first impression Flygon to deal with the Darkrai as well, because I was scared of that thing. We have the Rotom as our Genesect answer, because I don't have a Genesect answer. It's my check. I have nothing to switch into Genesect. Oh, I'm an Assault Vest Flygon to take like Flamethrower. And we do outspeed the Genesect if it's not Scarf, and so it was kind of like, pray he doesn't go for Ice Beam, and Flygon can deal with it. And Rotom was our other check if he is clicking Ice Beam. our Rotom was pretty bulky, and it was really nice for the Genesect clicking bug moves, because I didn't have any switches to that either, because I couldn't switch Caesar in on it. It was also my only answer to Skarmory, and it kind of works against Garchomp as well, because I believe I had Will-O-Wisp. So he leads the Mega Diancie, and that's what I expected. This turn 1, I was like, he's going to try and prevent me from... Mega Diancie was just a really free lead against me. He gets his Mega off, and he can fire off, a Power Gem or something like, or a Moonblast if he wants to. And I was like, there's no way he stays in on me, and I just clicked Knock Off turn 1, and that's fantastic because this was a Rocky Helmet Skarmory, and Rocky Helmet Skarmory, for the team that's U-turn the team, is incredibly annoying, and so the fact that we're able to get rid of that immediately is huge for us. And he doesn't have his Mega off on the Diancie yet, which is also really convenient. I do just U-turn out on this thing. Skarmory can't really do anything to Caesar can't do anything to him, but Rotom is a pretty safe switch, and as he goes for the Whirlwind, he pretty much, I figure he knew that I wasn't staying in, and Whirlwind was pretty free just to, try and move the team around. He didn't have hazards up, so like Whirlwind wasn't a big issue to me. But he brings in my Urshifu, and I'm just going to U-turn out. It's not worth attacking in case he goes for like a Brave Bird or something like that, and I can get momentum if he does switch out. As he just goes for the Roost, and we get our Rotom in for free, which is great, because he doesn't have a great switch into this thing, as we just click the Will-O-Wisp, trying to catch the Garchomp, trying to come in and absorb the Volt Switch. But the fact that the Diancie isn't Mega right now is fantastic, the fact that we scared it out, because it means we can go for Will-O-Wisp freely and not worry about it coming in and bouncing it back at us. And so we're able to I Volt Switch out, and unfortunately he goes for Teleport, which means he has Genesect in against our Caesar, which is exactly where we don't want to be, because this means he gets to click Flamethrower. And I don't have a Flamethrower switching besides our 4 times ice weak Pokemon, Flygon. And so here I go Rotom, predicting the Flamethrower, and he goes for Blaze Kick, which isn't great because I believe I was more specially defensive on the Rotom, and he does 55% with a Blaze Kick to a Rotom and reveals the Life Orb. Now I do find out that he's not Scarf, which is really nice because it means things like Cinderace outspeed it, and Flygon outspeeds it. And so we do get some good information, but we also take a ton of damage. I do switch into Flygon here because I figure he's going to go for the Blaze Kick again, because he's physical. That means he's probably not Ice Beam either, and if he is, then we should be okay because he's probably more physically offensive. I do know he has the attack boost from the download, but Flygon's a pretty safe switch in, and we still lose 30% from this Blaze Kick. But he is actually getting chipped down from the Life Orb, and we just Fire Punch to get the Genesect. It hits the Skarmory. That wasn't really the target, but it works out a little bit there. And then we U-turn out on the Skarmory, because pretty much everything on my team is going to U-turn out, but he's Rocky Helmet plus Rough Skin Garchomp, so he catches the U-turn and we take a ton of damage on it, which is really, really not great, because that's an Assault Vest Flygon. We don't have Roost this week, and so we really don't want to be losing HP like that. But we go into Urshifu, we have Ice Punch, we're Scarfed. I figure he's going to have to scout for that as well. He's going to want to switch out, and so I just go for Wicked Blow because it's pretty free here, as he does just stay in and get his rocks up, which honestly, fine by me. The fact that we didn't lose our Urshifu was quite nice. We didn't take a ton of damage besides the Rough Skin Rocky Helmet, which is damage I was okay taking. But now he knows we're Scarfed into Wicked Blow, and I'm worried about the Skarmory, the Diancie, or the Darkrai trying to switch in here. So I do double out into Cinderace on a very aggressive play because I don't think he wants to lose his Garchomp. And we get the play right. He has to run away from the Iron Head there. Yeah, as we go for the Iron Head, and we do knock out the Garchomp, which is really, really nice. We are Boots on the Cinderace here, just to mention. But yeah, the fact that our Cinderace outspeeds his Diancie means that it's not really that scary because we can always revenge it unless it's like Rock Polish. And so he doesn't have a really good switch in for our Cinderace, but Darkrai does outspeed, so he can just go into that. He clicks Knock Off, which is a really good play because we did live pretty much any special move from this thing, unless it was like a Specs Dark Pulse, and we would have been able to first impression it. But he goes for a physical knockoff and knocks out our Flygon, which is quite unfortunate, because we're quickly losing switch-ins to this Genesect. Now he also reveals the Life Orb on this thing, which means our Urshifu can come in and just click Close Combat, because he does not have a Close Combat resist. This thing's going to die to it. Porygon 2 can't switch in, and yeah, nothing wants to take a close combat. He brings the DNC just to sack it off because, you know, if we're not scarfed, then he can come in, take a hit, and then revenge us, but we are scarfed. He saw that against the Garchomp. He may have not been a very fast Garchomp since he was so bulky with the Rocky Helmet and Stealth Rocks, so maybe he didn't know at this point. But yeah, we do just knock this thing out. And he's forced to go into Skarmy because it's really the only Pokemon that lives a close combat at this point. And he roots up, makes sense, but now we have Rotom in and we can just freely Volt Switch because his Garchomp is gone. As I do defog. Oh, I wanted to get rid of the rocks. Makes sense. They were chipping down my team, especially the Mega Beedrill that hasn't come in yet. As I Volt Switch out. And I bring in Mega Beedrill because I assume he's going to teleport here. He isn't actually doing any damage. And I'm like, you know what? Mega Beedrill should scare everything. If it's Skarmory, I can just, you know, U-turn into the Rotom once again. But he brings in the Genesect. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my damage on this thing because Genesect is the one thing that's really scaring me. We get a critical hit on the knockoff, which is huge. Because now he's down to 5%. He's not going to take the Life Orb damage to knock himself out. But I trade my Beedrill for pretty much all the health on Genesect, and I was absolutely willing to make that trade because I have 2 Pokemon that outspeed it. He does get the Extreme Speed chip off on our Urshifu, which is annoying. But we do just click U-turn and knock out the Genesect. So honestly, still a good trade because Genesect was a huge problem for our team, and we're able to knock that out. And once again, Urshifu is very scary for his team. I go into Scizor here because I can knock off the Porygon if he brings it in, and I can U-turn out on the other 2 Pokemon. And that's exactly what we do. It means we get to go into Rotom again and just click Volt Switch again. And if he goes into the Porygon, then Urshifu comes in and clicks Close Combat, so he's kind of stuck here. He has to stay in and just click Brave Bird, as I think he knocks himself out to Brave Bird here. I should have roosted, but I wanted to try and pick up the KO, or I don't know what I was doing. I don't know why I clicked knock off there. But that means that he is able to knock out our Scizor. I just went for a U-turn there just on the off chance that he tried to set up a sub, because I believe he brought that previously. And now he's going to Urshifu with Close Combat a couple times and wrap up this game. Urshifu was such a threat in this game. And this brings us to 2-2. So we're back up to 500 after that atrocious start that we had. And we're feeling good about the team. I was real happy about all the work that Urshifu put in. And once again, Rotom doing quite well. I was really happy. Beedrill is still yet to survive a turn on the field, but I'm sure he'll have his time to shine eventually. So, week 5, we've got the Toronto Swap Blue Jays. And this team, it's a really, really scary team just overall. But for me, the scariest Pokemon on the team is actually Moltres because, as you know, my team loves U-turn, and my team hates Flame Body. And the Pokemon that punishes U-turn more than any other Pokemon is Moltres. And beyond that, they also have Dawnwing's Necrozma, Mega Scizor, Galarian Darmanitan, and Zygarde. So I've got to prep for like 5 threats plus a Moltres that shuts down almost my entire team. Keldeo is also there, but I have a Slowbro, so I wasn't really worried about that. Regieleki's not scary because I have a ground type. And we already dealt with the Carbink, so screens I don't think are the biggest issue for us. But the Moltres, Necrozma, G-Darm, Mega Scizor. Oh, also, I don't have anything for Mega Scizor. Cinderace is my fire type, but that's not switching in on a Scizor, and nothing else on my team takes hits from it at all. So Mega Scizor and Moltres were the 2 things I was most worried about. G-Darm is also just always a problem, but I do have, I believe, a Scarf Cinderace to outspeed it, so I'm not super worried about it. I think Urshifu might also be Scarfed. I know Cinderace was Scarfed in this match. But we'll hop into this one. He brings the Pyukumuku, which is annoying because it means that our Cloyster isn't going to do anything because we're Shell Smash and Unaware Pyukumuku just walls that forever. It's also a really solid Cinderace check because it means we can't just fire off, Pyro Balls freely. Not that we would have anyways. He does bring the Regieleki, which is nice because I'm like, well, I have a Flygon. I'm not too worried about that. But Pyukumuku was unfortunate. He didn't bring the Dawnwing's Necrozma, which I thought was wild, and no G-Darm either. So I'm like, okay, he didn't bring his threats, but he brought the Pokemon that I was the most worried about. So we'll see how this goes. I get the lead right, and I lead the Slowbro into the Keldeo, and I'm like, okay, he flip turns out, I'm just going to teleport. But he goes for a sub in my face. And this is when I'm like, oh, shoot. That's really bad, because this is my check, and now I'm going out of my check against the Pokemon that has a sub. So I'm like, all right, Cinderace, we have Zen Headbutt. We can just break the sub, take a hit, and then go back into Slowbro and deal with this normally. This is okay. Not ideal, but it's okay, because we can, we can just go into Slowbro. or we can just, Zen Headbutt, take a hit. And I don't think Cinderace is very good here because he has the Pyukumuku. The Moltres I already knew I wasn't going to be able to do too much. But I do kind of need this around for the Mega Scizor because it's a Mega Scizor. You have to hit it with fire moves. And so here I just go for the Zen Headbutt, and I miss. And so now, this is a Calm Mind Keldeo that is +1 special defense, +1 special defense behind a substitute. And that's so much worse because we were Scarfed. We outsped this Keldeo, and he would have had his sub broken, and then he would have taken a ton of damage. We do just have to stay in and click Zen Headbutt now. So we break the sub, but we've lost our Cinderace. And that's bad, because now he's still full health, and we've already lost our Cinderace. And it's already looking really, really bad for us now, because Cinderace is, still important. And now I don't think we can beat a Mega Scizor. I remember Scizor was my check to Mega Scizor in this match. It was my switch in. But yeah, now he can just sub up on the Keldeo. I do have Psyshock, fortunately, so we do beat this Keldeo eventually, but I couldn't have afforded it to have a sub up because I didn't know if it was toxic or anything like that. He is able to bring in the Scizor because we are forced to just keep clicking Psyshock, because if I stop, then I just lose. As we go into our own Scizor to try and check this Mega Scizor, because if he's not Swords Dance, he can't really beat our Scizor, because we can just keep clicking Roost. I U-turn out on the Moltres, don't get Flame Bodied, and this is really my only thing that can hit the Moltres. We do have Rock Slide on it. I don't think I brought Rock Slide, Urshifu, or Stone Edge, anything like that. So this is really our only Pokemon that hits Moltres. So if this goes down, we just lose. Cloyster doesn't outspeed it, and he's obviously going Pyukumuku on the Cloyster. So I do U-turn out, which is nice. We have to go Urshifu and just try and get as much damage off as possible. Fortunately, it is a 2-hit KO, and we don't die here. But we lose our protective pads, which means we can get burned by Flame Body. He does switch in Moltres as soon as he sees we don't have protective pads anymore and takes a good chunk of damage, but he's able to just roost it off. We do go for the Rock Slide, and it does 60%, which is really nice. And he U-turns out, which means his Moltres is now at 40%. It can't switch in on Urshifu. And it's a lot easier to deal with. The problem is it can always switch in on Scizor pretty safely, so we have to go for a U-turn every time Scizor comes in at this point. As he decides to bring in his Zygarde on our Flygon. I U-turn out because I know I'm faster, and I was going to Cloyster because I was like, we're pretty defensive, we can take a hit, and it's not doing anything regardless. And I expect the Pyukumuku to come in. I want to come in and click a knockoff, I believe, as I just U-turn out to catch the Moltres, because again, I have to U-turn every time I come in, or else the Moltres will be able to roost up. I do get burned. It was bound to happen eventually, but Scizor's here more as a defensive mon than an offensive one. I do go into Flygon once again. He's forced to switch out, and we have to go for the Rock Slide, because if he roosts up, then we're in a very bad spot once again. We do just, U-turn around, get Scizor back in, and we can roost up something like that if we want to. I should probably U-turn once again, just so Moltres doesn't get in for free. But I go for the knockoff, and that was a big old mistake, because now I can just roost up. And we're forced back into the Song and Dance. A Rock Slide won't kill him, because it only does 60%, but he's also very healthy. And at this point, it turns into a pretty slow game, because it's me not able to kill the Moltres, and him not being able to do much. But we do get a Toxic off on the Pyukumuku in exchange for a Toxic on our Slowbro, which isn't great, because we know he has a sub Keldeo, but it could be worse as we teleport out, and we get our Urshifu in. And this is really nice, because something's taking a big ol' hit. Moltres comes in, we don't get burned, which is huge, because it's back down to low, and we knock out the Mega Scizor. So he just gave us a free 45% on those Moltres, and so we'll absolutely take that. Urshifu is putting in the utmost once again, and we're very happy about that. That does mean Keldeo's coming in, and we have to go Slowbro. It's our check, and he smartly goes into Regieleki. Really good play on his part, knowing that we had to go Slowbro on it, and he gets to bring this in for free. Now, we still have our ground type, so we're not really worried about it, as I believe that was banded damage, and it does a good chunk, so I think we're forced to roost here, is what we go for. Oh, no, we go Earthquake, because I was worried about him staying in, because if he stayed in, he could just click Earth Assurance twice and knock us out, so I did have to go for the Earthquake. He goes hard Moltres, and then doubles out into the Zygarde on the Rock Slide, which is a really, really good play on his part, playing around that Flygon really, really well, as we have to go Cloyster again, kind of just to sack it off, because again, he still has the Pyukumuku around. As I just click Icicle Spear, try and get a little bit of chip off. It's not doing anything to the Pyukumuku, though. I don't know how y'all do this. I'm going to lose my voice. I just click Rock Blast, and I'm like, you know what? we're dead anyways. We'll try and keep him as low as possible. He knocks us out with Toxic, but this Pyukumuku is really low, which is actually kind of helpful for us. Because it means Urshifu comes in, picks it off. Great. And Urshifu is still very, very scary for him. He does outspeed us, which is not good, but we get the Ice Punch off, and I'm still happy with that trade. Because I'm like, you know what? He didn't know we weren't Scarf once again. I think we bluffed the Scarf again. And we're able to pick off the Zygarde, which honestly wasn't the biggest threat, but I didn't want to have to deal with it because it meant that we had to play against Slowbro on it, and Slowbro was too important to keep for the Keldeo. So we have to bring in the Keldeo or the Slowbro now, and we can fire off a Psyshock, I believe, here. Yeah, we just fire off a Psyshock. The problem is he can stall us down with Toxic now because he has the leftovers in the sub. And so we just have to keep clicking Psyshock because there's nothing else we can do. We can't allow him to have a substitute up for free. And so we're basically trading our Slowbro for the Keldeo there. But he actually goes straight into Regieleki. Really good play on his part. As I just sack off the Caesar because I don't want Flygon to go down to 2 assurances. And Caesar wasn't doing anything at this point except giving him free setup. So now we go back into this thing. And we click Earthquake as the Moltres comes in. Really risky play on his part. And we miss a Rock Slide. And that's brutal for us. Because now the Moltres is still around. And he gets to go into Keldeo and just get a free sub up. Which was going to happen anyways. But he just goes for the Scald. Makes sense. As we have to go for Psyshock once again. Because it's the Keldeo. Can't let it have a substitute up. And so we're basically going to trade... Oh, no, we teleport out there. I'm not sure why I did that. I don't think that was a very good play. But I didn't want to die there. And we lose our Urshifu. We're going to lose our Slowbro. Eventually to Toxic. Break the sub. He can go for another sub. And we'll then... Yeah. And I think he knocks us out here with a Scald. Yeah. And Flygon doesn't outspeed it either. So we end up losing this one. The Zen Headbutt miss on the Keldeo ended up coming into play quite a bit because I think Keldeo killed 4 of our Pokemon. And the Rock Slide miss on Moltres. The game was probably over at that point anyways, as Keldeo never had to switch out again. Like, Keldeo just came in regardless. But it kind of stung because I really wanted to kill that Moltres because it was messing up my team. But, move on. It happens. This was a tough matchup regardless because of that Moltres. And we're back to 2-3 now, I believe. This is going to be the last week of the regular season now. If we win, we have a chance of making playoffs due to, differential in how other teams do. But I actually like our matchup here as well. I think this is one of those teams that was also on the weaker end, similar to our team. Their only Uber is the Mega Alakazam, which is good, but we have a Cinderace and an Urshifu, which if we Scarf those, they outspeed and just absolutely destroy it. So we're not really worried about it. They both have Sucker Punch as well. So I wasn't super worried about the Mega Alakazam. And everything else is kind of just a normal draft team. I feel like I could see the rest of these Pokemon on a regular draft. And so going up against the Rock and Rolls, I was actually feeling pretty good. And yeah, he didn't even bring the Mega Alakazam. I don't blame him. My entire team kind of dunked on it, but I did have, I think, first impression on the Flygon once again. And this does mean that our Mega Beedrill outspeeds everything on his team, which is actually really, really nice for us. Because it puts on a ton of offensive pressure, especially after this Ferrothorn is gone. And we do scare the Ferrothorn quite a bit between Cinderace and Urshifu. I think we also have Mystical Fire on the Latios. He leaves with a Mandibuzz, and Mandibuzz is actually a problem. I don't have anything that really beats it. But we do have U-Turn, does a good chunk of damage, as he just goes for the Brave Bird and tries to knock out our Beedrill once again. So Mega Beedrill does finally survive a turn, which is great. But if we had stayed in, he would not have. But Caesar comes in, and this is a pretty free knockoff, I think. I was running bulky Caesar pretty much every week. And yeah, we do want to get rid of the item on the Ferrothorn. This means it doesn't have recovery, which is huge unless it has Leech Seed. And I'm just going to U-turn out because I'm not too worried about the Iron Barb damage. I don't think it's a big deal. I'm just going to go into Cinderace because... especially since, I think I had Court Change on the Cinderace, and I was like, if he goes for hazards, we just swap around. If not, fine, we'll take a, knockoff. It's not a big deal, and we can just click Pyro Ball pretty freely against this team, as even Primarina does not want to take that He goes for the Aqua Jet, which is a really cool play, as I go for the Gunk Shot, and we trade most of the health on our Cinderace for this Primarina, which does mean that we can't really do that play where we go in on the Ferrothorn as easily, just because we can't take the hit as we switch in. And once again, I go Caesar on this Mandibuzz. I know it could have Heat Wave, but it's shown Brave Bird. I really don't think it will. As he goes for a Roost, and I think this gives me a chance to Roost as well, I believe. Or just U-turn, whichever one I'm wanting to do. As I do just U-turn, sweet. Because this means Cinderace comes back in, and he still doesn't have a Pyro Ball switch in. Mandibuzz comes in, takes 31%. We can U-turn out. I don't think I had U-turn this week. But yeah, this is fine, because once again, we're chipping down this Ferrothorn, even if it is slowly. But eventually this thing will go down, and then our Mega Beedrill's even scarier. Flygon also gets a lot better once it's gone, because I believe we were Dragon Dance with like dual Wing Beat. Mandibuzz is still super annoying. We don't have anything that can kill it, but we are still doing a ton to this Ferrothorn pretty gradually. He goes for Stealth Rocks here, which is great, because I do have the Court Change, and I get Rocks up on his side in exchange for my Cinderace, which honestly at this point, I wasn't worried about the Ferrothorn. I come in, I can just click Mystical Fire and knock it out. He doesn't get Hazards up, we get to keep Hazards up, and with a Alolan Marowak, that's really nice. I do the Calcs, and Draco does enough to kill after the Rocks damage, and so we get another kill with Latios on the Marowak. He was expecting to scare us out, I think, but we were Soldu Draco Meteor, so we were able to knock it out. He comes in, gets Mandibuzz back in, and we're just going to have to, play around this Mandibuzz, try and get it knocked out eventually, but like it's one of those things, we'll just leave it until the end, probably. We're just going to try and knock out everything else on his team as soon as possible. We get a U-turn off on this Raikou, and that's fantastic, because it also means we get to go into this Flygon and click Dragon Dance, try and win the game here. We have the dual Wing Beat. It does just enough to Buzzwole to one-hit KO it, and that's fantastic, because we also have the Thunder Punch for this Mandibuzz, and he doesn't really have much for this Flygon. That should just win the game. I'm expecting a Roost here because we shouldn't kill it with the Thunder Punch there. So I go for another Dragon Dance just to try and get as much chip as possible on this Mandibuzz, and we do get it in range of a 2-hit KO, which means we just click the Thunder Punch again, and he's not going to be able to switch around this anymore. We can just click whatever in front of us and be fine. Yeah, and this will go down to fine. He keeps switching. It's not going to save him at this point. We get the Thunder Punch, click Thunder Punch again, click Thunder Punch again, and we end up winning this game 5-0, which is huge because we really needed that differential to get the tiebreaker into playoffs. So at 3-3, we end up getting the very last slot in playoffs, and it was on a tiebreaker of I think we had a tied differential with the other team, and we just barely squeaked in with I think it was based on opponent's win rate or something like that, and we get into the last spot in playoffs. We are the 8th seed out of 8 teams, and this is our matchup. We're going up against the Maryland Torterrapins, and this was the team that was ranked number 1. They only lost 1 game during the regular season, and it was the team that I thought after the draft had the best team in the league. It's kind of what team I had dreamt of drafting when I saw the tiers. I really wanted to try the Naganadel with either Urshifu or Cinderace, but Naganadel Lando I was, the Lando I was the third mon in that, echelon. And I think Naganadel Lando I is an incredible core. And then he also just grabbed, Ash Greninja and Mega Lopunny as well. So those 4 are just terrors. And I don't think anyone had teams that could really deal with those 4 Pokemon. Along with that, he's got some decent support with Sticky Web Slurpuff, Melmetal, who's still an absolute threat, and, stuff like Mesprit, Vaporeon that pass wishes into stuff like the Melmetal. But it was really that top 4 that's just absolutely terrifying. Now, Mega Beedrill does outspeed everything on this team, which is really nice. But we have to scarf the rest of our Pokemon if we want to outspeed everything, because he has Lopunny, Greninja, and Naganadel that all outspeed the rest of my team, which is very, very scary. And it means we got to run some Scarves. But if you look at it, Urshifu is really, really scary for this team. His Urshifu checks are Slurpuff and Shelmet, because his Dark type is Ash Greninja, which isn't going to take Wicked Blows. And so I do think that Urshifu is my win con here. It's the Pokemon we're going to have to rely on, and hopefully we're able to do so. But yeah, getting into the battle, he doesn't bring the Naganadel or the Lando I. And I am flabbergasted. Like, those two Pokemon absolutely dumpstered me. Like, Naganadel, I didn't have a switch in. It was Blissey. Blissey was my switch in. And Blissey's not a switch in Naganadel. It just U-turns. And then the Lando, I don't have switch ins to that thing. Like, I think I had Flygon when I switch into that. Again, I was shocked he didn't bring. He brought the Slurpuff and the Shelmet, which means all of a sudden Urshifu is no longer that good. Because if you don't know, Shelmet's like one of the best Urshifu checks in the game because it has battle armor, so you can't crit it with Wicked Blow, and it resists close combat. So all of a sudden, I'm like, shoot, Urshifu's not any good, but he didn't bring any of his threats. So I'm like, going into this, I was like, all right, I don't have a chance. But then I get to the preview, and I'm like, okay, we've got a shot at this. Like, I think the matchup that we have here now all of a sudden is quite good. We have this Scarf Cinderace, I believe. We've got some bulk with this Slowbro Blissey. And we've got our boy Comfy. And so I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is all right. We can still just spam close combat, Pyro Ball, U-turn, everything. And I think we have a shot. So he leads Megalop. I'm Scarf Cinderace. I'm like, perfect. I think he has to switch out here because you got to respect the Scarf possibility, and I can just knock you out with a Zen Headbutt, a high jump kick. I don't think Megalop wants to stay in here. But he does stay in, and so now I have to switch into this Megalopony, which, to be honest, isn't the biggest issue. We have Slowbro, and like, this means he's probably going to U-turn out, and that's going to suck. But we're not taking a ton of damage, which is okay. So I do go straight into Slowbro. We're Rocky Helmet, so he's going to take Chip as well, which is convenient. But it does mean he gets free Greninja, which, again, this is Ash Greninja. We don't want this thing getting a kill. And so I think I just go into Blissey here. I'm kind of forced into it because until he reveals Low Kick, I don't think he can beat this. But he goes for the U-turn, really smart play. And now he gets Melmetal in on our Blissey. And that's also awful. Slowbro is also our switch into Melmetal. And we go into that because like Double Iron Bash isn't going to do much. We got Rocky Helmet. As he goes for a sub, it's like, okay, not great because I don't know if I can break a sub. But Thunder Punch isn't doing that much to us. We're max HP, max defense. Like, we can recover it off, and eventually, he'll get chipped down by the Rocky Helmet, and I think it'll be okay. As he goes for Thunderbolt, and I'm like, oh shoot, this is really bad. We do take 2 Thunderbolts, but we don't break a sub. And so we're in a horrible position right now, because this is a really, really good Melmetal set, sub Thunderbolt, and I just go into Flygon. I'm like, I have to read the Thunderbolt. We can't let Slowbro go down. Unfortunately, he does, and I'm like, okay, we'll just break this up with Earthquake. Hopefully he doesn't have Ice Punch, and we'll reset from there. So we go for the Earthquake, break the sub. As he goes for Iron Defense, it's like, oh, this is even worse, because now we're not breaking that sub anymore. Like, if he gets enough Iron Defenses off, we're not breaking subs, and this Melmetal is looking like an even bigger threat. Now, at this point, I also like, okay, this thing's last move is Body Press, which is going to smoke my Blissey. I just lose. Like, this game is over. I have nothing for this. My only hope is, like a critical hit. Fortunately, Urshifu has Wicked Blow, but it's a Melmetal. It's not taking that much from a Wicked Blow. As we do have Slowbro, he can't Body Press us, so, like, it's a stopgap at the very least, because, like, we can trade the sub for the Slowbro, basically, is what my logic was there. And here I go into Urshifu, because I'm like, okay, he has Shelmet, he has Slurpuff. Urshifu's not going to win us this game, but it can guarantee that he doesn't end up with a sub. So I expect him to sub here, and I'm like, okay, I can Wicked Blow, break the sub, he'll kill me with Body Press, but at least he won't have a sub up. He'll be at like 80% health, and we'll be able to go from there. But he goes for the immediate Body Press, and Urshifu dies immediately, which was basically what we were sending it into, but I was hoping he'd be at a little bit lower health, just to make it, a little bit easier to deal with. So here, we are in a terrible position. My last-ditch play, tricking a Choice Specs. If he had switched out there, I think the game might have been over. But we're able to trick the Choice Specs on the Melmetal. Now, remember, he has Thunderbolt, so Specs aren't the biggest problem for him. But it does mean he can't just substitute Iron Defense all over our team. So for the moment, we have a little bit of respite. We can U-turn out here because he's going to be forced to switch out. And we're able to gain a little bit of momentum back. Now, we don't have anything for this Vaporeon particularly, but we do get our health back up with Slowbro if we teleport out here, and we are able to get a Toxic off on this, which, if he's not Heal Bell, is fantastic, because looking at the team, we don't have anything that does a ton of damage to Vaporeon, so we kind of need to Toxic it, or else it's never going to die. Now, I do know it can't really touch Blissey, so I go into that, but he pulls the really good play and Flip turns out, gets his health back on Lopunny, and I have to go back into Slowbro. Actually, no, I go Comfy here, because I'm like, okay, if he U-turns, fine, we're not going to take much damage. If he goes for a fighting move, we won't take much damage, but I don't want my Slowbro taking Chip. I think we still need that thing around. As, unfortunately, we get Toxic by this Mega Lopunny, and that's really bad for our Comfy. Now, it does mean that our Slowbro isn't Toxic, so it could be worse, but still not good for our Comfy, because the plan was to, beat this Vaporeon with Toxic, and now we have one less Pokemon that can just stay in and beat it 1v1. We do get the Blissey in on the Vaporeon, which is nice, as we get Stealth Rocks up. That's just kind of helpful for like the Shelmet specifically, because it's not going to be Boots, and it gets Chip on everything like the Greninja, which is really helpful as well. He gets a critical hit Flip turn and does actually like more damage than we'd like, as he brings in the Melmetal, gets it back up to full health, and now it's just mind games. Does he click Thunderbolt? Does he click Body Press? Because one of them won't be able to hit one of my walls. But if he makes the right prediction, then he's doing a ton of damage and probably KOing the Blissey if he clicks Body Press, and doing a yit load to this Slowbro if he clicks Thunderbolt. As he makes the prediction, clicks the Thunderbolt, and does 50% to our Slowbro. So now it's like, okay, I feel like it's pretty obvious that I go into Flygon. It's immune to the Thunderbolt. I know he's locked in. And so I make the prediction. No, I don't make the prediction. I'm like, okay, that's fine. As he goes into Vaporeon, and I'm like, okay. Now he's probably going to Wish or Flip turn out here, because I don't think I stay in here. As I decide to Dragon Dance, because I'm like, there's no way he scalds me or anything like that. I think he wants to retain his health. As he actually goes for the Flip turn, which is even better, because it means that he's still pretty low on this Vaporeon relatively. We get a free Flip turn off, only lose 17%, and now we're faster than everything, which is fantastic. Now, I don't have dual Wing Beat to hit this Lopunny, but Earthquake's going to do a ton of damage, and I'm like, alright, I'll make that trade. He can Ice Punch me, and we end up actually living the close combat, so now we have dealt a ton of damage. He has to switch out here if he wants to save the Lopunny, but he does let it go down, which is fantastic, because it means it's one less thing that we need Slowbro for, which is actually really important, because Slowbro allows in the Greninja, it allows in the Vaporeon to get a Wish off, and it allows him to click Body Press if Slowbro goes down. So the fact that we're able to get rid of one of the Pokemon that Slowbro's needed to check is really nice. We're also still boosted up here. The problem is he can just click Water Shuriken here, and there's nothing I can really do, because our Blissey is at 39%, so he's going to get his Ash Greninja activated, his Battle Bond activated or whatever, which sucks. I was like, okay, I think he has to go into this because nothing else wants to take a hit, and he's going to try and bluff Water Shuriken if he doesn't have it. I figured he'd have it because I do have a Cinderace, but on the off chance he didn't, I was like, I have to go for this kill anyways. He's just getting Battle Bond regardless. Now, I still do have Comfy, who has the Triage Draining Kiss, so like, I can kind of revenge it. I'm not going to Oko it because I don't have my specs anymore, but I can scare it out, as I am forced to Draining Kiss there, and I have to U-turn, and once again, we're in the position of, does he Thunderbolt, does he Body Press? And I'm like, okay, he's going to Thunderbolt again. He Body Presses. So that's the second time in a row I've called the wrong move that this Melmetal's locked into. And this time it knocks out my Blissey, which was my Greninja switch in. Now, the reason I went this was I was like, okay, if he goes Thunderbolt, this means that I get a soft build off with our Blissey, and we're in a great position because he's forced to switch out, and Blissey is going to do a ton of work at that point. But he goes for the Body Press, really good play, and we're forced to go into Slowbro here. We can just teleport out, which is nice, because we know he's not staying in, and we get our Cinderace in for a free Pyro Ball, which just knocks out the Shelmet. So, Shelmet's gone. Shelmet wasn't doing anything in this game. Like, it's nice that he didn't get spikes up or anything like that, but because Urshifu was already dead, I think he also knew that Shelmet wasn't going to be important. Problem is, Greninja gets to come back in, and we don't have a Greninja switch in. Our switch in is Comfy, who takes 61% from his Surf. Now, we do get to click Draining Kiss again if we want to, but we make the aggressive play and double out here. And the reason I doubled out instead of U-turning was I was like, okay, if he stays in, we die. So I have to switch out. But it's not worth U-turning either in case he has like a Rocky Helmet Slurpuff for the Urshifu. And so I did just hard out into Cinderace because I figured he had to go Melmetal there, or he was going to. I figured I had to make that play. And this allows us to go for another Pyro Ball. Slurpuff comes in, again, a Pokemon that isn't scaring us too much. As he does get the Unburden off, it looks like it was a Belly Drum set. But at this point, I'm like, okay, I can just click Pyro Ball again. He doesn't have anything that can OHKO me. He doesn't have his Belly Drum boosts, as we take 22% from it. And he does get the attack drop, which is actually really unfortunate. It's not the biggest deal because I assume Greninja's coming right back in. And so it's like, okay, we're going to have to switch out regardless. But Greninja does come back in. And again, I'm like, okay, he's going for a water move. I don't think he can go for a dark move because we do have the Comfy that seems like an obvious switch in. I'm going to go into Slowbro. If Slowbro dies, that's fine. At this point, it's the most expendable member of our team. And maybe we live a Dark Pulse. Maybe he's scared of the cold, but no, he knew we were Rocky Helmet. We don't live a Dark Pulse. He gets a kill, but now at least Comfy gets in. And this is a mind game. Does he stay in? Because we do kill it with a Draining Kiss, but if we Draining Kiss that Melmetal, the game is probably over. So we have to decide, is he going to stay in or is he going to switch out? He switches out. He makes the middle ground play of Vaporeon, which is also a smart play. Because if we Draining Kiss, we don't get that much health back. He can wish into his other Pokemon. And we do Draining Kiss. So I predicted him to stay in. He doesn't go Melmetal, though, fortunately, which means that the game isn't over yet. Although it's in a really bad position. We go for another Draining Kiss because I really don't want him to get a wish up. I say just Flip turns out, and I'm like, okay, he didn't wish. That's a good start. Because now he does have to go Melmetal, and I'm like, oh no. This is bad. Maybe we live a Double Iron Bash. I'm not really sure. Oh wait, no, he doesn't even have Double Iron Bash. It's Thunderbolt and Body Press. And I'm like, okay. I have to switch out here. We need to save this Comfy. So I U-turn out. Go into Cinderace. And he finally gets full parried. That was huge. He had broken through paralysis quite a few times at this point. But him getting paralyzed there specifically was fantastic because it meant that Cinderace just fires off a Pyro Ball and something dies here. Vaporeon's too low of health. It can't switch in. And we miss, which if he had stayed in would have been a problem, but we can just click it again. And Vaporeon still dies. So we're back in the position of, what does he go for? He can just go for the Water Shuriken here. I think that's pretty obviously the play. So I'm forced out into Comfy, and we have to live this. If we don't live this, we die, or we lose. We live on 2, get the lefties, and survive on 2%. So we still have a chance. If we get this thing with a Draining Kiss, then we win. If he switches to Melmetal on a Draining Kiss, we lose. So this is, once again, do we stay in? Do we switch out? Because he can't even Water Shuriken because Triage is more priority than Water Shuriken. So I have to decide, is he going to stay in? Is he going to switch out? He switches out, and I go for the U-turn. And that means Cinderace is in, and once again, we click Pyro Ball. Knock out the Melmetal. The Greninja comes in. It's going to knock us out with the Water Shuriken. And Comfy will come in at 2% and Poison and pick off the Greninja with Draining Kiss. And that was an insane battle. There were so many 50-50s, so many plays that could have gone either way. And we just barely won that. I think if he had brought the Naganadel or the Lando, we would have been in a much scarier position. The Melmetal set was incredible. If we hadn't been able to get that trick and give it the choice specs off on it, I think the game was just over immediately. And so somehow we knock off the top seed and move on to the second round of playoffs. And I was absolutely stoked after this battle because I did not go in expecting to win. I was just like, you know what? We're going to try our best. We're going to have a good old time. And we're probably going to get like 6-0'd by Naganadel. But we're able to move on to the next round of playoffs. And we are going to be facing the Hellblaze Volcaronas. And this team is a team that I didn't want to see. Not because it's a tough matchup or anything, but because just look at this team. It's the fattest team of all time. I believe he had the first pick overall and took Zygarde Complete because, I mean, it's Zygarde Complete. It's absolutely broken insane. And then he just drafted Stall around it. His only other offensive Pokemon is Rillaboom, and like, it's still defensive because it gives the entire team grassy terrain support. And so this was just a pain in the ass to prep for because it's like, okay, how do I kill anything? If he just switches around properly, he's going to be fine. But the one advantage of this team is his fastest Pokemon is Deoxys at 90. And so Beedrill, Cinderace, Latios, Comfey, Flygon, Urshifu, Rotom all outspeed his entire team. And it also allows me to run Adamant Band, Adamant Specs on everything. And so I remember I had Adamant Banded Urshifu, which 2-hit KO'd basically everything on his team besides like bulky Zygarde complete or super bulky, like, that was pretty much it. Maybe like a Ditto, I guess. But yeah, so Urshifu looks stupid good in this matchup, as did Cinderace, Beedrill, and all that. So this is the team I brought. I just went super offensive because I was like, if we can prevent him from recovering because we're doing 50% on every turn, that's how we beat this team. And I also just didn't want this to be a 200-turn battle because he's the one that's experienced in that, with this team. He's the one that has all those long battles. We don't really do that with our team. And so we want to try and make this game as quick as possible, basically. He leads the Pex. I think he's trying to get Toxic Spikes up, but we do have the Taunt because I feel like, Taunt was a necessity against this team, as he just goes for the Scald. Really good play on his part, knowing that Taunt was a possibility, and that he can get a burn on the Cinderace if we go for anything that's not a Pyro Ball, because why would we go for a Pyro Ball? But we don't get burned. And so as you turn out, we do see that he's Rocky Helmet. I think at the moment I missed that. I don't remember seeing that, but we go Latios, and we threaten big damage with this thing. Because I think we were... I don't remember what item we were, but Psychic does 39%, which is huge because it forces him to recover. And we just get to go Cinderace because that puts on a ton of offensive pressure. He has the Pex. We U-turn out again because I think this is where I realized he was Rocky Helmet, because I was like, wait, why am I below 50%? That's not good. So I'm like, okay, I guess I got to go in, got to knock it off. Because this is my only knockoff user this week. And we do get rid of the Rocky Helmet, and that's huge, as I remember against the Skarmory, we had that same issue of got to knock off the Rocky Helmet Pokemon because our entire team has U-turn. And so every time we can knock off a Rocky Helmet, that's really important. He sets up the Toxic Spikes, which is fine because the Scizor does have defog, so I'm not too worried about that. But he does get a Fire off a Scald, which is unfortunate because we don't want this Scizor getting burned. I U-turn out here. I'm like, Latios is free here. He doesn't really have a good switch in. Unfortunately, he gets the Toxic Spikes up, and I'm like, okay, he's going Clef. I need to go back into Scizor to get rid of these spikes. And this is turning into one of those games where it's defensive like he wanted it to be, which isn't great. So here I'm like, okay, he doesn't stay in. Bullet Punch is a big problem, and he has the safe Toxic Spike switch in, so I'm just going to U-turn out. Unfortunately, he stays in. We get our Comfey paralyzed, as he does have the Flamethrower, which is also why when U-turn, I was like, gotta scout for the Flamethrower, Fire Blast. So now our Comfey is at 68%, and this is actually a very similar set to last week in that, once again, we're Trick Choice Specs, and we catch the Corviknight, which is why I figured, like, Trick Choice Specs makes a lot of sense in this matchup because none of his Pokemon want to be Choice Locked. Like, his team is incredibly bulky, his offense is Zygarde, Rillaboom, nothing on his team really wants it, and as I saw with Skarmory, Corviknight is also a pain for us to knock out, especially when we have, like, Scizor that it can switch on in for free all the time. Comfey it can switch in for free all the time. So now it's a Specs Corviknight. It's not going to be doing a whole lot this battle. We U-turn out on the Toxic Specs, bring in Scizor once again to defog. Because at this point I'm like, okay, this is our Rillaboom check, but I don't think we need that much health for the... I think it's okay if we get burned. Because Rillaboom still isn't going to want to take our U-turns. And... oh, we actually didn't even have Bullet Punch this week because I didn't think it was worth it because he has so many good switches to Bullet Punch. We're actually Swarm because we only had Knockoff and U-turn. Defog and Roost. But we do get burned. It was inevitable. But Toxic Spikes are off the field. We also have Aromatherapy on our Comfey. We were Specs, but we did have Aromatherapy because I was planning on tricking it away immediately. And we got our Urshifu in and do 66% to this thing. And that's the power of Banded Wicked Blow. This thing switches in, takes 61%. He does not have an Adamant Banded Wicked Blow switch in. He brings in Corviknight, which is really smart, because that does mean it wastes 4 PP from our Wicked Blow. So at this point, we're down to 2 Wicked Blows. Granted, we did 60% to Clefable, 60% to Toxapex, and we knocked out the Corviknight. But we only have 2 Wicked Blows, which is actually kind of scary, because if we ever use that last Wicked Blow, that means that Zygarde Complete can come in and Dragon Dance for free, which is the one thing I'm most scared of in this game, is a Zygarde with a +1 speed boost, +1 attack boost, because that thing takes hits for days, and it just smokes my entire team. That's what I have Slowbro here for. It's just here for the Zygarde. But if it has like Skitter Smack, then at +1, it's still a big old problem. He brings in Rillaboom, smart play, but we have the Scizor to just take hits from this thing for days, and we just roost up on this, I think. Actually, with the Grassy Terrain, maybe I U-turn. I'm not sure. Oh, I defog. Okay, so this is unfortunate because Zygarde now does set up for free on us. If he's Substitute, we probably won't break it with the knockoff. And so now the burn is really not good for us because we really don't want the Zygarde in. I go hard Latios because I figured there was a good chance of like 1,000 waves and then I'd outspeed it and knock it out. He sets us with Substitute, and I'm very scared now. The nice thing is we did defog with the Grassy Terrain, so he's not getting that recovery. As I just go for the Ice Beam to break the sub, as he only has the Breaking Swipe, he doesn't have the Outrage. Which means we do end up living, and he's kind of forced out because an Ice Beam will KO him here. So I think I still had to go for the Ice Beam. Yeah, I had to go for the Ice Beam because if he lived, then it wasn't worth it. I go into Slowbro here. I'm not sure why I did that. I think Psychic does about 80%. Because again, we were the Soldew Latios again, I believe. We just go into Slowbro though, because like this Toxapex can't touch us. I think we found out it's probably not carrying knockoff. As we go once again, Urshifu, click Wicked Blow. Get a kill. But once again, Rillaboom comes in. We have the Scizor, but this means pretty much we can't click Wicked Blow ever again. Because that means Zygarde gets a Substitute up, and we really, really don't want that to happen. So here, I just go Cinderace, because Cinderace isn't really doing much at this point. When he has Quagsire, Toxapex, Zygarde, and this Rillaboom. Like, this was here for the Corviknight and the Clefable. Those are both down. So I'm okay to just lose the Cinderace. And we do lose it. He goes for the Superpower, so it is nice that we didn't go immediately into Scizor, because that would have done a good chunk of damage. Now here I'm forced to U-turn because I can't let the Zygarde get in for free, but it means Latios gets to come in once again. And that's really, really nice for us. We do click Draco this time and just one-shot the Quagsire, which also really, really good, except for the fact that now Zygarde could come in and set up because we're at -2. But we get the KO, and we're still pretty okay because we do have the Slowbro. He does reveal that he does also have the Dragon Dance now, which not great because our Slowbro Ice Beam does not OHKO this Zygarde. We do know it's not a weakness policy, which is kind of nice, but the fact that he's Dragon Dance plus Substitute is terrifying for me. Because again, this is a Zygarde complete. If it gets into complete form, then we're in big trouble. We just keep clicking Ice Beam though. We actually get a freeze on the Rillaboom here, which is really nice. It's not like it was the biggest threat to us, but the fact that we're always forced to click U-turn with the Scizor does mean that not taking damage here is really helpful for us. But I don't think it was the biggest issue because I believe he thaws. Yeah, he thaws out pretty quickly and gets the U-turn off, which is unfortunate because it means Zygarde comes in. But fortunately, we did click U-turn. Very, very nice because I could have tried to roost up there as he was frozen, but we didn't. We played it safe, and it worked out for us as we get to go into this thing again on the Zygarde. Toxapex comes in. I have to Ice Beam because I don't want the whole Draco Meteor thing to happen again. We got into Slowbro because this Pex I don't think can touch me. We still have the defog on the Scizor, but now if we click defog on the Scizor, that means the Zygarde comes in. So now these Toxic Spikes are actually a bigger problem because they're up permanently, basically. But I did teleport out here. We get to go Scizor, click U-turn again, and like we are actually gradually gaining HP because of the Grassy Terrain. But he actually stays in. Superpower drops his defense, and because we are Swarm, we actually end up knocking out the Rillaboom despite being burned. We do the 63% needed, and that's actually really, really nice because it means Scizor never has to come in again, which means the Zygarde should never get a chance to set up. Now, this endgame does still go quite slowly because I'm really worried that Latios won't OHKO this Toxapex with Psychic, and we need to be able to OHKO it or else the Zygarde can set up on us. So we go for the Psychic, try and chip it down with the Slowbro, and then, just teleport out so we can knock it out with the Psychic. But he clicks Recover, we click Teleport, and we'll speed this up because it ends up being very grindy, slow endgame. Because it's me trying to play around the whole, if he gets a Dragon Dance off of Zygarde, he can still win. Especially because I'm Toxic, he can substall us, he can do all kinds of stuff. And so it's me trying to keep this Toxapex low, but also playing really, really safe with our Slowbro I could have played this a lot faster. I think the talk specs, there's been a couple chances where I could have come and knocked it out with a Psychic, but I didn't know that at this point. And so he reveals his last move is Haze, and that he can't really do anything to our Latios. We should live a Scald at this point, but again, I was playing super safe. Finally, we get it in. We knock it out with a Psychic, and then we knock this thing out with an Ice Beam. So somehow, after starting the season 0-2 and ending the season 3-3, we are in the finals for the CLTU, which is insane to me. Not expected. I thought our team was kind of dookie, but we've somehow made our way to finals. And this is the matchup that we had. We're going up against Double Teamed, and this is another team where I was like, okay, this team isn't crazy, ridiculous, broken like some of the teams we've seen. Now, keep in mind that Blastoise, that Mega Blastoise, is allowed to have Shell Smash. This is his Ubers, is the Shell Smash Mega Blastoise, which, a very good Pokemon. That was big threat to our team. Also, Torn and Coco, problems for our team. Really don't want to deal with those. The Pokemon that I was really worried about in prep, just specifically for my team, was Mudsdale. Because we've already shown my team is incredibly physically offensive, and a Stamina Mudsdale is really annoying, even if I am, like, critting through it with Wicked Blow. A Body Press Mudsdale is a big issue for our team. Because it means that Beedrill and Cinderace can't really get going until it's gone. Incineroar is also a problem because it has Intimidate. But it doesn't really want to switch in because if I predict it, it goes down. The thing is, he has 3 Pokemon faster than our Cinderace, which once again, not fun. Because Torn and Coco, both outspeeding it, mean that it's probably not going to be able to do much. He also has the Como-O, which is immune to Pyro Ball if he's running Bulletproof. He has the Accel Rock, Lycanroc. So, like, Cinderace isn't usable in this match. We can't really bring it. I did end up bringing the Specs Comfey for a 3rd time in playoffs. We went 3 for 3 with the Specs Comfey because between Como-O and Mega Blastoise, I felt like priority was very important, and strong priority in Draining Kiss and Giga Drain, super effective priority, was very important. It also really helps with the Lycanroc Dusk because we can outspeed the Accel Rock. But we needed the Jirachi gone for that Comfey to do much, otherwise we have to keep clicking U-turn. Because I don't really want to lock a Jirachi into Specs in case it is like a Flash Cannon set. The other thing is Urshifu does look really solid here. Wicked Blow plus Close Combat hits everything really well. Coco doesn't want to switch in on a Wicked Blow. Como-O is really the only thing that switches in pretty safely to everything. And, so my biggest fears, I didn't think Jirachi was likely to come because I have the Cinderace, the Urshifu, the Flygon, and like the Scizor. And so I was like, okay, hopefully this doesn't come, but if it does, the team that I end up bringing, it doesn't really like Jirachi at all. I didn't bring much to deal with it. This is the team he ended up bringing. It was pretty much everything I was most worried about. Because Torn was very scary just because of how fast it was. Incineroar I figured was the other Pokemon that could show up, just because Intimidate against my super physically offensive team makes a lot of sense. But this team was very scary, and I was definitely worried going into this match. So I decided to lead with Flygon. My original plan was to lead with the Beedrill and to scout and see if he was Scarf Coco or Scarf Torn, because I figured both of those were quite possible. But when the Lycanroc showed up, I was like, okay, we have to go Flygon, because if this Lycanroc shows up, then we have to click Earthquake immediately, because it's a big problem for us. This was a Roselli Berry Flygon, because it was my Coco check. But we were really defensive. So I think we were max HP, max defense with Toxic Roost, Defog, and Earthquake. So really similar to that one game against the Mega Latios team. He just goes for the knockoff turn 1, which was fine. I didn't really mind losing my Roselli Berry because it meant that we got a Toxic this Tornadus, and that was really important because I didn't want him just sitting around. I think I remember in his semifinal game, he kind of just sat on the other team with like a Thunderwave, Jirachi, really fat Torn, a fat Blastoise, and he kind of just played the slow game against him, and I really didn't want Torn doing that against me because its offense was really scary, as we saw with the Scarf Zapdos earlier in the season. I do have a Blissey, so like Hurricane isn't the biggest threat. He does miss one, which is really unfortunate for him. I went for a Toxic, predicting him to U-turn out and trying to catch something like the Mudsdale or the Blastoise. So I decided to switch out there if he's going to just clicking Hurricane, but he makes a really smart play and clicks U-turn. That's really bad because I don't have a close combat switch in. And this thing gets a free close combat because we have Blissey in. Very bad. I was considering running Chopple, I remember, on this thing, but I decided not. It was for the Mega Blastoise, was what the Chopple was for, but then I realized that a +2 Mega Blastoise still doesn't OHKO a Blissey with Chopple, or with Aura Sphere, so I decided not to. But here in this moment, I was regretting it. I decided to go Comfey, so I'm like, he has to go for close combat. And Comfey can take a close combat pretty well, and just click Giga Drain and get all that health back. But he reveals to be banded close combat and do almost half, which is ridiculous. Lycanroc is super strong, but that does mean I know he's banded, and that means that I can safely U-turn because he's not going to stay in here. And so I go for the U-turn, and we get our Urshifu in, because he doesn't have Urshifu switch-ins right now. Like, we want to click Wicked Blow as many times as possible. He also reveals these leftovers, which means he's not the Colbur Berry, and so this is a super free Wicked Blow. I don't even have to worry about clicking U-turn to scout for the Colbur. As he actually goes for the Protect and forgets that we have Unseen Fists. And we get rid of Jirachi like that, which is huge for us, because Jirachi was what was stopping our Comfey. It also stops a Latios. And he just basically gave it to us by forgetting about Urshifu's ability, which can't blame him for. I've done it many times. It just happens to all of us. I assume at this point, after the battle, it was probably like a Wish Protect Thunder Wave Jirachi, you know, with like Iron Head. Just super obnoxious. And so it's really nice to get out of the way as well. But Urshifu showing why it deserves to be one of the Ubers in this Ubers League. He does go into Ko for free here, as I predict him to go for the Volt Switch. I don't think he clicks the Dazzling Gleam here when I do have the Blissey right there, because Blissey seems like the most likely, but he does U-turn, which good and bad for us. Good that he didn't Dazzling Gleam, bad that he switched out, because that means Blastoise gets to come in for free, and if he wants to click Shell Smash, he can click Shell Smash. So I just decide I'm going to sack Flygon, we're faster, we can get a Toxic off, but we missed the Toxic. And now it's not looking good for us, but he clicks Flip Turn, and we got very lucky there that he did not go for the Shell Smash or like an Ice Beam or something like that. It does mean Torn gets to come back in, but I'm going to try and roost up on this thing and hope he misses a Hurricane. We can kind of Toxic Storm as well, because Hurricane isn't doing 50%. He does get a Confusion, so if we hit ourselves here, then it's really bad. We get the roost off though, and if we don't hit ourselves, we can kind of just win this eventually. So he does U-turn out. He knows that he's not winning that either, as fortunately we do get another roost off. And so our Flygon's back up to healthy, and he's really going to have trouble dealing with this Flygon, especially if he doesn't have the Play Rough on the Lycanroc. This time I do think he's going to go for the Dazzling Gleam, because he's, realized that this Flygon's really hard to break, so I go into the Blissey, and he does Dazzling Gleam, which is great, because this gives us a free teleport. I don't need to Wish. I don't think rocks are super important in this match right now, because I know that that's not a Sash Lycanroc. I know it's banded, and this thing could have Rapid Spin. This thing could have Defog. I'm not super pressed about getting Stealth Rocks up. I could also Thunder Wave here, but if he wants to bring in the Mudsdale, I don't want to do that. So I just go for the teleport. I think it's pretty free momentum for us as he goes into the Torn. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I've got this Latios set that, if we can get set up, I think can do a lot of damage. So this is a Weakness Policy Agility Latios, and he actually does U-turn out on us, which is exactly what I was hoping for. We get our Weakness Policy procced, and we click Agility. And now he's a little bit nervous, because Psychic just OHKOs the Tapu Koko. We also outsped a Scarf Tapu Koko by 1 point. It was actually just super convenient. The speed creep we needed to outspeed a Como-O was the exact same as the one we needed to outspeed a Scarf Koko at +2. And it allowed us to knock out the Koko in one hit. So we got rid of the Koko, which is really, really nice, because it's his fastest Pokemon. Now his fastest Pokemon is Torn. And if it wasn't a Scarf Koko, we realized, because it Dazzling Gleamed into U-turn. But it makes our Flygon even scarier for him. But we also have the Thunderbolt, also OHKO the Mega Blastoise. And so now it's like, oh, okay. Now it's looking real scary for him. I assume he has the Accelerock, which is a banded Accelerock. I don't know how much it does to my Latios, but he kind of needs to go into that if he wants to have a chance. This thing could be Assault Vest, but I'm like, I'm going to take the damage. I'm going to click Thunderbolt again, and it knocks out the Torn. So at this point, it's like, oh, this game might just be over. Comfy might just win this with Giga Drain now. As he does eventually go into his Lycan Rock, he clicks a Cell Rock, and it doesn't kill. And we have Surf, and that's game. We get a 6-0 in the championship. Latios just swept. It's really crazy because I ended up adding this Latios set to the team. Like, I think it was about 5 minutes before this battle. I had Cinderace, and I was looking at him like, why do I have Cinderace here? Cinderace is not good in this matchup. What about Latios? I need something for this Mudsdale. It's like body press because we learned from the Melmetal. And so, yeah, with this Latios, we ended up winning the CLTU. I believe it's season 2 of the CLTU. And I couldn't be more proud because I think our team that we drafted was a very quirky team, to say the least. And I had a ton of fun with it, with all the U-turn spam. Comfy was the MVP of the season. Comfy and Flygon put in more work than a lot of my high-tier Pokemon. And couldn't be more proud. Specs Comfy coming to every single playoff game and working every time made me really, really happy. And I had a ton of fun with this season, which is why I wanted to upload it. Shows that you can turn around any season, and with a little bit of luck, you know, you can win a showdown league even if it's Nat Dex Ubers. Which going into this, I would have said, you know, that's probably going to be my worst format because I'm really, really bad at Nat Dex, and I have no experience with Ubers. So I was like, you know what, this sounds like a lot of fun, and we did have a lot of fun. And I think hopefully this proves that Urshifu is broken if it can win a Ubers League as the highest tier Pokemon on the team. And I really appreciate any of y'all that stuck around this long. This is going to be a really, really long video. Hopefully it turns out okay, because your boy doesn't know how to edit. But I really appreciate anyone that's still watching, and bye y'all.